Till after Tishrei Tovshin Lamed Aleph, the Rebbe would eat the Yontiv meals upstairs on the second floor in the apartment of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and there would be a minyan of the Elter Chassidim by the table. And the Seder was that during the meal, Rashag or Reb Shmuel Levitin or others would ask questions, and the Rebbe would answer, and there was some discussion. Also Pesach, this happened during the Seder, but not during the Seder, during the Agoda, but during the Shulchan Aruch when they would eat the meal. So Tovshin Lamed, the second night of Pesach, Rashak says to the Rebbe that he noticed that the Rebbe doesn't eat with a knife on Pesach. Is there any reason for it? So the Rebbe says, no, there's just nothing to use a knife for. By the way, he said, I do use a knife. I use a knife for karpas, I use a knife for charesis, but otherwise there's no reason to use a knife. That's why I don't use. But not because of Pesach, because if there's an inyan not to use a knife, it would be not only Pesach, it would be any yont, any time. And then the Rebbe said that Benegei eating with a knife, he said the Frierdiker Rebbe says, gehalten stark, held very highly of the Munkacher, and the Minchas HaLozer. And the Minchas HaLozer writes, it's a good inyan to eat with a knife. Because it says in Zayar, Name apum char beleichel, that when you eat bread, it's like you're holding a sword, because during eating, that's when you have the Yetzer Hara that's fighting you to eat with a taiva. The Rebbe didn't tie trees, but that's the pshat. And therefore, you have to fight the Yetzer Hara. And a sword is what you use when you go to war, when you fight. So when you hold a knife, it reminds you that you're holding a sword now, that you're fighting the Yetzer Hara, so it gives you keach to overcome the Yetzer Hara. And therefore, there is an inyan to use a knife, to eat with a knife. And then they spoke about whether eating with a fork. Rashak said that the Frierdiker Rebbe did not use a fork, and the Rebbe said that he did use a fork. The Rebbe Rashab sometimes didn't use a fork. But anyway, went back to the inyan with a knife. And the Rebbe said that he doesn't eat with a knife. Why? Because his father didn't eat with a knife. And the Rebbe explained that he saw that his father didn't eat with a knife ever, so he asked him why. So the Rebbe said his father told him, because on Yom Kippur, it's a mitzvah, Erev Yom Kippur, it's a mitzvah to eat. The Gemara says if you eat on Erev Yom Kippur, it's like you fasted. So in order to show that it's a mitzvah to eat, he would use both hands. But in order to make it should be beil, it should be clear that it's especially for Erev Yom Kippur to eat with both hands. So a whole year he didn't want to use both hands. When you eat with a knife, you have to use both hands. So he didn't want to eat with a knife. Now it doesn't mean that Erev Yom Kippur he ate with a knife. He only ate with a fork, but he held it with both hands. But had he eaten with a knife always, it would always be with two hands, because there's no other way you could use a knife when you eat. But Mele didn't do it. And the Rebbe said, and that's why I do it too. I therefore don't eat with a knife, because there's a din of Kibbud Av, and the din of Kibbud Av is also La'achar Meisei, that's the Lashon the Rebbe said, and therefore as Kibbud Av, it was good for my father, it's good for me, and this is als Kibbud Av, I don't eat. But it's not a hero l'Rabbim, it's not hero for everybody. And then the Rebbe turned around to his left, and a lot of Bochrim was standing there. I was there too. Actually, I was the first one in the line there, and the Rebbe looked at the Bochrim. He actually looked at me, but you could see that he was looking at all the Bochrim, but since I was standing there first, he looked there, and he said, Aber ihr sollt essen mit am Messer, weil das der Mund auf Name apum char beleichel. And don't look at me why I don't, because it's not a hero protest, this is only something for me. And Take, from then on, the yeshiva bought knives for the Bochrim to eat, and the Bochrim started eating with a knife. Till then it was not shaykh, a bocher should eat with a knife. It's so balabatish, a bocher should use a knife. It looks like it's a balabos. But since then they bought knives, and everybody started eating with a knife, because the Rebbe said that it reminds you of Name apum char beleichel.